Hi, it's Pola from Pola Quilting. Welcome back to my channel. I have mentioned in my last tutorial that I'm kind of working on my personal challenge to clear all of those boxes with the scraps. So you might have watched my scrap management video, so you know that whatever comes into my studio is kind of processed, and because of the fabrics I work, or the source of the fabrics I work with, I've got shirts, I've got some scraps from scrap store, I've got some bedding. So I try to kind of cut everything as it comes into usable pieces. If it's a very big piece, I don't. That kind of goes to another tray. But all of those trays got 2.5 inches, 1.5 inch strips, and I've been working through those because actually I think I found a better way of storing them. But I don't want to handle those scraps and strips again. So instead of taking it out, maybe ironing it and move it to my new solution, I'm just going to work through it until it's all empty. And then I can use those trays for my projects, individual projects, and the new strips which are coming into my sewing space will be handled a different way. And I think I will record another video update to my scrap management to kind of show you what I'm trialing now for the fabric, but that's a different story. So I just want to show you my winnings. So I've emptied one of my trays, which is great. Most of them are getting kind of they are not so squishy anymore as they were before. And also I was working on this tray. So in the last few tutorials I've been working with the fabric from the shirts, and I'm still working through those. And I was working like from the longest pieces because it's easier to work with, and now I'm getting to those shorter pieces. So what I did, I've sewn them together into kind of strip sets here, which is 2.5, 2.5 and 2 1.5 inches in the middle, and I will be working today with those to create something. But as you can see, those fabrics, as you kind of getting to the bottom of the barrel, how I say sometimes, your fabrics are getting less and less colorful. So as you can see, they're quite, we're getting to those more plain fabrics, which are still good fabrics, and I don't want to, get rid of them. So let me just shop around in my trays, see what else I could possibly add to my project to make it more pop. And in the last, again, few tutorials, I was using plain fabric to get pop out of those, shirt fabric. So I've got a tray here with scraps of solids, and I've been putting them on the adding tape, as you can see. So let's take that, maybe we can marry it up somehow together. I've got another solids here, so those are 2.5 inch strips. So out of those 3 trays, I'll try to create a some sort of blocks to get rid of a lot of those things. Okay, so I've got my tray with my strip sets. I don't know how many I will use, but if they are already in the strip sets, it's easy to cut some shapes and put them together as well, just for a very quick quilt. But for now, let's see what we can do. So let me take a few out to work with. So I found one more thing recently in my bucket. So some time ago I've recorded this video with the spider web, and I've got my template from that tutorial, and I think I could do some sort of combination with those strips, this template and the other stuff from my bucket. So first thing I will do, I want to cut the shape. I'm not worried too much like how it's going to fit exactly. I just want to cut the shape, and I think the best option would be to use for the first step a small ruler, just to cut that top, and then something longer for the sides. It's just to how to streamline the work. Let me just put few pieces on top of each other. Let's do 4 at a time. Usually it's a quite good number. So I'm just taking the ruler more or less in the middle. Like I said, it's not the precision work here yet. Those blocks, because they are made from the shirt fabric, I will need to starch before final kind of trimming. So for now I just want to be as close as possible to where I want to be. And same with here, I don't need to kind of match it up yet here, because we'll be doing a lot of stuff with this block beforehand. So literally I just want to cut out the shape. I want to have a straight edges, but they don't have to be exactly where the template is taking me either. That's one, and I will keep those pieces because I'm sure I can use them somewhere, if not in this design, somewhere else. Let's cut the other side again. As you can see, I'm not kind of getting to exact point. I just want to be close enough with nice straight edge. Again, I'm keeping my scraps here. The smaller ones I will put in my other bucket with the smaller pieces. That's probably going to be used somewhere else. So as it is at the moment, it's quite blunt, so let's see what we can do. So I did say I've got those strips on the adding tape, and I'm just thinking I could add possibly them on the side, but this is going to be quite wide. I think I would like to go with something narrower, so let me see what we can do here. I more or less need that length because it's going to be added to the side, so I will cut them to, I want to have a little bit of overhang for that bottom here, so I will cut it to about 12.5 inches. And as you can see here, my fabric is sticking out on both sides, so I can probably, instead of taking this into half, I can probably make this even a little wider. So let's see what I can square it up to first. So I'm starting from this side because there's a one piece here which is not sticking that much. So trim here first, and then I can see what I can achieve from that strip. So I could even go as far as 123.2. So if I go with 1 3/4 here, so let's see what we're getting here. Let me take one piece, let's start adding it to the sides. So that will go here, and that will go here, and that looks already quite nice. Those colors from the solids will make nice big impact here. And now we still need to get it to the square. I think because I've got quite a lot of those ones, I think I will go with this one next. You know, you could add the strips here after that one, like in the original scrap block I've created in the first tutorial. But I want to make those blocks fairly quickly. That's another thing I like to kind of focus now, is just to make blocks quickly. So I think I will go with the blue here, and then I should be able to use up those bits here to kind of fill in whatever gap is to make it a square. Okay, so this is how I want to sew it all together. So I will trim more of the pieces to go with my other 4 or other 3 to make 4 blocks in total, and I will show you the step 2. I have done a little bit of prep work to quickly chain piece all of those stuff. So I've got my cut out center pieces of the block, then I've got my colorful strips, and to be fair, I can probably mix them so they don't have to be, you know, from the same piece, so they can be even more colorful on the blocks. So they are about 12.5 to 13 inches, depends, you know, how I tiered it or what piece I had there. This is about 12 inches of the solid, and those are the cutouts from the sides, which will fill in hopefully the rest of the piece of the block. I can now quickly chain piece at least those sections here. So first the colorful strip on both sides, you will need to take it to the iron board after first strip, and then trim it a little bit, then the blue bits, and then we'll get to this one. I've put a 1/4 inch foot on my machine, but actually the seam is not so relevant, the width of it at this point, as far as it's straight. So if you don't have a 1/4 inch foot, don't worry about that. So my first piece, my first colorful piece, and then I will chain piece all of those 4 pieces together. Okay, so I've stitched it on one side, and now what I will need to do is take it to the iron it out, and trim it here according to this edge, because then I want to add the other side here. So you know, I like to avoid the iron as much as I can, but with this one I cannot kind of go on without doing it. So I will take it to the iron now, and then I will stitch the other side. I don't know if you noticed that when I was trimming this side, I actually went from the beginning to the end of this edge, because that fabric bowed a little bit. Then I've added my strip, and then straight away I've added my blue strip on that side, because I could. And I can take it all in one step to the iron. Now I also was using my ruler to just see where do I need to start that blue fabric to make sure it's covering that edge. So you know, you don't want to start too high so it doesn't run out there perhaps, and then you don't want to start too low so you have a space to square up. So now I can take it to the iron board, you know, take it all nice flat, trim it a little bit here, add the second blue strip. So if you have a square ruler, if you put it on top of it after you've ironed it, then you will know from when to add that scrappy bit here to the side, because you don't want to start too high. As you can see, you know, the fabric gets narrowing, so the amount of space and then to square the square will be less. So you want to add it as low as possible to have that wider bit more in use, because that's where the edge will be going. So I can see on this one, for example, I could add as low as here, so I've got then up to here to square it up. Or you know, you can go with the bigger blocks and just add another piece. I probably won't, but I will see. Okay, so iron board, adding the other sides, adding the scraps, and the first step of this design is going to be ready. There is one more thing I need to do before I actually take it to the iron board, and I forgot to tell you. So those 2 strips, I normally remove the paper from my paper piece strips after I've put the block together, because then none of those stitches here or seams here are going to be wonky. But here, because they're crossing, I will remove a bit of paper on this side to make it nice and flat. So that's just the only piece of paper I will remove at this point of time. I do have a tutorial how to put the scraps on the paper, so I'll link it in the description below. It also covers how I prepare them and when and all of those things. So you can see now when I iron it, this bit here is going to lie much flatter, and I can then add the blue strip. Now if you iron it and you find that this side is a little bit bowing, don't worry, just straighten it up a little bit. You know, I'm not worried about how wide that is it exactly the same size on the both sides. I just want to have a nice straight edge to add my blue piece on top of it. Okay, so it's time to square up my block, and at this stage, you know, just to speed up the work, I will first just trim that corner, more or less aligned here, because we're trimming it, so it's fine. And then turn around and square it up to the biggest square you can make out of it. So I could probably go about 9.5 in here, but you, oh, no, a little bit smaller, I'm running out of space there, so I will go with 9 inches. All of that spare fabric here, you know, nothing disappears from this place, so that will go to another bucket and will be used somewhere else. The other option you've got, you can kind of trim it the way you want here. You've got a bit place to play with, but 9 inches for me, so that will be the square. So this block as is looks pretty nice already. If you put 4, you can make some of mosaic type of things. Have a look at that other tutorial I was referring to, so you can have an idea. However, do you remember my wonky layer cakes? I've mentioned them a few times in my previous tutorials, so I would like to use them in this project. 1, that means I don't have to make so many of those to make a quilt, and 2, I have opportunity to use up some of my otherwise not usable squares. So if I take another one to save myself a little bit of work, so first step again, I'll just come here and I'll just trim that one corner. So that's easy. But then with the second step, to make it, you know, 2 in 1, just put this one away, I'll just take one of my squares and I will align here that corner to match it, because now I know what size I want to cut them to, so I don't actually have to see that fabric underneath. So I will align this corner where I know it's straight, and I will take my ruler and now I will square it up to 9 inches again. So I've got perfectly square and squared up block. So the next step I want to do now, because it's the fabric is, this is, you know, kind of double-sided because it's a shirt, or in this case, I can straight away go to the next step I want to do. If it was not double-sided, you want to make sure the right sides are together, and here I will just do simple thing. It will be a half square triangles with the method 2 at the time. So I'm drawing the line in the middle from corner to corner, and then I will sew 1/4 inch, one line 1/4 inch on one side and second line 1/4 inch on the other side, and I will cut in the middle, and that's where the block is going to be ready. So let me quickly square up the other blocks, and then I can sew those half square triangles together. What I didn't mention is the layout for that half square triangle. So where you place your block, that your wider edge of that center piece is on one side and the pointy one on the other side, you want to have a line for the half square triangle go from top to bottom. So when we finish our block, one will look like this and one will look like that. Okay, I've stitched it through. I just need to cut it out and then square it up again. So I probably won't do 8.5, maybe like 8 1/4, but depends, you know, how big your own blocks are, how good your 1/4 inch on this part where you will see how big the blocks you can make. I know it may feel like a lot of scoring up, but from one kind of center piece you've got 2 blocks, so that's quite a lot of time saving here, because here I'm just using plain fabric, so not a lot of work in this step. and two, those blocks are still pretty big, so you don't actually need that many to finish your project, whatever the size is going to be. So if I do 8 centerpieces, then I've got 16 blocks, so I've got 4x4 layout, and that's, you know, baby quilt ready. Or you adding the blocks as you need them to make the bigger quilt. So let me just pop it on the design board. Let's see how it looks already. And here are the blocks and some options available to make out of them. Obviously, from just basic designs, you can see if you add some sashing in, you know, between each of the blocks, if you add some sashing between grouping of 4, if you add some sashing between group of maybe 9, you will have 1,000,001 designs just from one block. I really like how those solids popping out from the back of the stash. I think if like myself, you find yourself with some kind of blunt type of fabrics in your stash, and you want to add some, you know, pop of there, then yeah, mixing it with solids is a go-to. So I still got some remnants of those strip sets, so I'm definitely going to work through those. You know, like I said, the goal is to empty all of those trays, so more tutorials with shared fabric coming, but obviously that design will work with any scraps you have in your buckets, any combinations. Thank you very much for subscribing to my channel. Thank you very much for subscribing to my website. You can find me on Pinterest, Facebook, Instagram, and my own website page, like mentioned. All the links are in the description below. And if you stay till the end of this video, you will be able to see what I finished recently and how the quilt came out. Thank you for joining, thank you for watching, and see you next time.